The Spanish Church punished the Spanish people for religious crimes, and due to the growing population of Jews in the country, they were under a lot of pressure by the not-so-good people to convert Jews and Muslims to Christianity. Those that agreed to convert were under suspicion, while those that didn't were killed. The choice was baptism or death. At the peak of trouble in Spain, an estimate of 32,000 executions were carried out over a period of 200 years. Inquisitors would reach a town where they would be looking for people to confess for heresy. Some people would admit to their crime and come away with a small punishment, such as whipping or pilgrimage. But those that did not confess were tortured and executed. There were hundreds of miscarriages of justice. Many of the accused of all alleged crimes were innocent, but were executed due to not being allowed to defend themselves. The hair shirt was used after a confession, whether it was voluntarily or forced through torture. Those that wore it would repent and apologize to God for their sins and devote themselves to God, Jesus, and the church. They would then be ordered to wear it in public, the ultimate humiliation that they have been charged with a religious crime. It was also used to deter others, especially in the hot weather, where it became an unbearable tortured method. The shirt was made out of animal hair, and with the opening in the neck so it would sit on the shoulders. The skin would be irritated, and people would suffer from the major discomfort. Sometimes the irritation would be made worse with stones and tree branches. Sometimes those that were ordered to wear the hair shirt would also go without eating food or water to further their punishment. Another method used during this time was the rack. The rack was a brutal device that was used to ensure a confession, which was gained through excruciating pain and agony. The person would be tied to a board with their arms and legs spread by chains or ropes. This would then be tied to a revolving crank at each end of the rack. Each time the crank was turned, the arms and legs would begin to stretch. The body would start to tighten before joints dislocated and popped out of their sockets. Before ligaments and tendons snapped, bones would also snap right through the skin, which would bring agonizing screams from the victim. The rack would stretch the muscles so far that when the victim was released afterwards, they would never be the same, which would make walking and moving very difficult. The Inquisition also used the strapado. This method had 3 variations. Firstly, the accused would have their hands and ankles tied behind their back with rope, which would be fed through a pulley system, and as they're being pulled off the ground, they were left suspended in the air, hanging. This would always dislocate their bones. The shoulders would pop first. As the pain continues, the victim would struggle, causing more pain. Sometimes additional weight will be added to make the process quicker and more painful. This type of torture was enough to deter people from committing any crimes during these times. People that went through this often never recovered and would suffer permanent damage for the rest of their lives. It was the quickest way to get a confession, guilty or not.